using grease trap.
Based on Tacoma City, I tried to replace the grease trap, but I got the quotation from the company, okay, and that it required up to 120,000. That's my out of my budget. It's a lot of money. So that's why I'm now still thinking about that. How we can survive without delivery service. Our sales per day is not good. That's why I cannot survive.
Sandy is the owner of Roll's House, a new Korean restaurant in Tacoma's South End. He chose Tacoma over other cities in Western Washington because it seemed like a great place to grow a business. He never anticipated that one city policy would make it so hard to be successful here. The problem is simple in theory. He wants to deliver food through platforms like DoorDash and Uber Eats, a pretty standard thing these days. But the city won't let him unless he spends that huge sum of money on a machine called a gravity grease interceptor. The work involves digging a giant hole in the parking lot, rerouting plumbing lines, and connecting them to the sewer main. It's a big project, one that most small businesses like his really can't afford, and he doesn't own the building, which is true for most local restaurants. Yet aside from a few small loan and grant programs from the city, there is little financial support for this kind of infrastructure.
A grease trap is basically a plumbing device that kind of sits between some of our sinks and the city's main sewer system, and its job is to literally trap grease. So any grease that goes through our kind of washing system or prep sinks or anything goes into this grease trap, and just through basically a gravity system gets filtered out of the water before the water goes into the sewer system.
I'm Christine Sherrod, the food and dining reporter at the Tacoma News Tribune. Over many months, I've talked with dozens of local restaurant owners who have run into similar headaches with the city over its stance on grease traps. They are frustrated because there's actually a cheaper solution, one that's easier to install and, when properly maintained, can be just as effective. Roll's House already has one of these smaller grease interceptors, as do 80% of Tacoma restaurants. They're also widely used across the country, but the city of Tacoma would prefer if everyone used the more expensive option.
I've been working in bars and restaurants for 20 plus years. I own a bar in Seattle, and we never had to deal with anything like this up there. It's a very localized issue. There's a few problems with grease traps in the city, and a lot of them are just based on kind of what the city has deemed acceptable amounts of what a grease trap can hold and can contain. So a lot of places are being required to put in huge gravity interceptors, which sit below ground. They're just massive kind of concrete things. You have to dig out an entire space, install these things, and they're tens of thousands of dollars. Just the fact that the city is using more kind of suggestions rather than code when they give you these ideas. I just think, yeah, having a standardized thing, which is also easy to find for people who are trying to open up a small business. Like, I mean, government websites are never easy to navigate. That's never going to change. But if there was just some kind of packet like, hey, you're looking at opening a restaurant, here are some things you need to know. If there was that, it would be super helpful for people.
Dave is not alone in thinking there must be a better way. In the past few years, restaurant owners say they have spent months going back and forth, usually with one city employee, who insisted they had to foot the bill for the big concrete interceptor, and if they didn't, they would not be approved to open or to continue operating. The city technically allows exceptions, but the people I spoke with say that process is unclear, arduous, and not readily offered.
The city manager told me that if I can do delivery service without permission, it required 10,000 fines per day. So that I was surprised. Even I never think about my that kind of delivery service without permission, right? So now I'm still thinking how I can survive my business.
All of this is kind of complicated, right? And it's also important. We don't want grease in our sewer systems. Left untamed, it can clog pipes and cause hazardous overflows into homes, businesses, and streets. But the local restaurant industry fears that Tacoma's strict approach to this environmental issue is hurting small businesses while leaving the door open for those who can afford the high cost of entry.
Tacoma is a really cool kind of younger city with a lot of people who have a lot of cool ideas. They want to do fun things, and just the high cost of entry into this business, and I mean really the complications around it. Just there are so many kind of steps to take and so many things. There's not really a good roadmap for it. It stifles creativity. It stifles small business, and it doesn't support the community at all. The only people this is helping are like larger corporate chains.